Oh my God, I'm so excited about today's episode. I get to talk to my friend, Jen. Jennifer Faye Colombo is an artist and a designer. Jen's intention is to bring a sense of calm, peace, and joy to others through her watercolor paintings. She is inspired by nature, with the ocean and the cosmos heavenly influencing her work. In addition, as a lover of all things personal growth, Jen creates and designs journals and card decks for herself and her clients to elevate those transformational tools with art and design. Jen, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to chat with you today.
Me too. So, tell my, I mean, I know some of your journey, but tell the listeners your journey. Tell them a little bit about yourself and your journey to where you are today.
Yeah, so this is really interesting because I know you help people with like big transitions and transformations. And being an artist was something I always was, even as a kid, but it's not something I ever thought about as a career. It's sort of the universe sort of shoved it to me,
Don't you love
if
that?
you will, later on in life. And I started out, I always loved drawing and painting. I get it from my grandmother, like it's just in my blood, and it's something I've always enjoyed. And later I decided to go to school, and I actually have a degree in theatrical scenery design. And I spent over a decade in the entertainment business, but I didn't actually have my own creative practice, which I realized later on was a mistake. And once I left and I started to do just other things because I wanted to serve people in a different way, I started to discover meditation and energy work. And I got this huge shove and calling to go back to painting. And it got to the point where I could not ignore the whispers anymore. I basically said yes because I was annoyed. And I was like, just stop, 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 stop.
I love the
So I
universe taps and you don't listen, it nudges and then it smacks you on the head, right?
Yes, yes, it did that. And so I decided, okay, I'm gonna go back to painting, but I'm only gonna do it for me. It's just gonna be for fun. Went and took a class because I was like, I'm gonna be rusty. I haven't watercolored in like 10 years. And what happened in that class was truly magical. It was the universe once again intervening. I got those nudges, and I got this nudge, this message to like stop, like don't listen to this class at all, like put your headphones on and like just listen to the music and paint and do your thing. And that was very unlike me as like an A+ student, like rule follower. And when I sat there by myself just quietly listening to music and starting to just create, I was starting to create from my heart and my soul and shove everything else aside, all of the rules aside. And I started my own journey and evolution of sort of unlearning everything that I had learned and really starting to listen to myself and create from that place. And that's always what I encourage people to do too when they're creating.
Wow, that is beautiful. I love that. And I know that you say that painting and also looking at art can be a form of meditation. And it almost sounds like that's what you did in that moment was just
Yes.
kind of be meditative. And we're going to talk a little bit of a little bit more about this, about my creative or lack thereof. But I know myself when I've done like paint nights, I really get into just the painting, just the canvas. I don't want to do the tiny little trees and branches, but just the big brush strokes
Mhm.
feels very meditative to me. What is it about that that is so meditative?
For me, I would say that it basically, if you're willing to let go of trying to force an outcome to happen, right? For me, it's my biggest meditative practice because it allows me to become fully present in the moment.
I
I
love
start to lose all sense of time and space. And it is truly, truly such a beautiful thing. And it is just extraordinarily soothing to my soul. It is it's being in pure creative flow, but it really is a very, very meditative state for me. And although I practice other forms of meditation, painting is probably my primary, my highest form of meditation.
I love
Yeah.
that. That's beautiful. I love coloring books became a big thing a few years ago for adults. And even that for me, because there's lines, I get to stay within the lines. But so let's talk about creativity, because you and I had a conversation a long time ago, and it made me realize, I can't do the blank canvas thing, right? If somebody says, what color do you want to paint your house? My brain stops. But if you say, do you want to paint it blue or green? I can tell you I want it green versus blue. Do you want light blue or dark blue? Whatever, right? I can do light or dark, but don't just ask me the question, right? And I've switched the language because I know what we put out, comes back. But for a long time, my story was, I'm not creative, I'm not creative, I'm not creative. Now, I'm a hairdresser. In addition to all the other things I do, I'm a hairdresser, right? I started a podcast. I think even working with spreadsheets, which I love doing, is creative, right? So I had to really shift my story and my beliefs, because I can't do what you do, but there's probably a good chance you can't do what I do, right? So just owning
Right.
my own creativity. So can we talk to that a little bit? Because other
Yeah.
people are listening to this going, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm not creative, because I did that for a long time.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite things to talk about because I personally feel that we are all creative beings. And I know some people might be going, of course she's saying that because she's an artist.
Right.
But here's the thing. I believe that when we're younger and even when we're older, we tend to think of being creative as tied to a visual art or performing art or writing or something like that. But it is completely not true. Like, we are all creative. Francine just gave amazing examples. She's done hairdressing, she's creating a podcast, right? We are creating every single day, especially if you're a business owner. We are constantly creating. So, one of the things I love to dispel is like, let's dig into this a little bit. Like, ask yourself, what are all of the ways that you are being creative throughout the day that you may not even realize? So, for example, those who love to bake and cook are being creative in the kitchen. For those who love to garden, that's another form of creativity. Oh my gosh, what would we do without our creatives who are insanely organized? Thank goodness for them, who love spreadsheets or like organizing somebody's office, right? And feng shuiing somebody's home. Creativity in my mind comes in all different forms. And although I am an artist, I create in all different ways too. Sometimes I create meditations. You'll get that in my freebie. I create writing, I create content, I create all of these different things. If you pause for a moment and just think about it and how you're going about your day, if you're willing to let go of the idea of creativity being in this box or this lane, I promise you're going to find you are creative in countless ways throughout the day. If you're a mom and you have kids and you're like making up games to play and like all of these things, kids, by the way, are great models for us of like how to tap into our creativity, right? When they're using their imaginations and they're playing, they're great examples. So it comes in so many different forms. And I really want people to embrace this idea that they are creative, no matter what form it comes in.
What do you think stops us from exploring that, right? Because we do get into our heads, right? That's my work, right? So what do you think stops people from exploring their creativity?
I think some of it is one of what you just said. Like, we get too in our minds and we can be very overthinky, which, by the way, I'm guilty of that. That's something I'm always shifting and a work in progress on. And I think it's just these stories. I think we've told ourselves that we're not creative. And once we say that, we believe it, but it's not true. It's something we have to unlearn. Just like I had to unlearn that I could be creative from a place of my heart and my soul and my energy versus only from a technical standpoint.
How has that shifted your work over time?
Oh, that's such a good question. So how it shifted my work over time is, at first it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable to ditch all the rules and to really just be exploring and be willing to experiment. And now it's my greatest gift. And it's something that I can tell you that I can feel in my work. So I can go back and look at very old work. And now, especially because I am a meditator and I do lots of energy work, I can feel that something's off in the work, even if it's technically like proficient, right? I can feel that it's sort of lacking soul, it's lacking energy. And that's how it shifted for me. So now my heart and soul are in the driver's seat, and the technique and all of that stuff that I know takes the back seat. So it plays a supporting role instead of being the driver.
Oh, I love that. So now I know a lot of your work is for other people too.
Yeah.
So how does that, right? So my vision versus your vision, right? How does that come into play? How do you work with your clients?
Yeah. So my biggest thing, whether I'm working with clients or not, is I believe everything is intention. And our intentions are very powerful, and our intentions are part of our energy. And so when I work with my clients, I always ask them to set an intention for me. And that is front and foremost. Like, that is what I am working with, in addition to obviously other questions and conversations we have. And for me, it really becomes a co-creative process. And I feel like this is so natural to me because I really weave my background now as a fine artist, as a scenic designer, and as somebody who's a meditator and energy practitioner. Well, I don't work like that way. I really do it more through my art, but as somebody who's done a lot of energy work, I weave all of those things together. And when I used to be in the entertainment business, it wasn't just about your vision. It was really about a group of people's visions. And I really bring that in when I'm working with my clients. So it's very natural to me. Like, I don't know another way to work.
Which is beautiful, right? That is purely coming from your soul. Have you ever have you ever worked with a client where your visions were just very different? And how do you?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty good about filtering like who
Okay.
I work with and who I don't. And we have conversations up front because I actually do want to make sure that we are a proper match for each other. And I have declined projects before because somebody has a vision and they want to work with me, but I know that I can't achieve their vision stylistically. Although I play in a lot of realms of styles, there are some that are just not my area of expertise. And I recognize that. And if that's the case, then I let them know. I'm like, I'm really not the right fit for this project. Like, this is sort of really who you're actually looking for.
Nice. Now I know you use watercolors. Do you use other mediums as well?
I do. Watercolor is my primary medium and my first love. I fell in love with it over 25 years ago. Like, as soon as it was like pure magic, as soon as the pigment hit the water, I was like, I was in. That was it. But yes, I do. I have experienced many mediums over the years. I still use other mediums. You won't really see them for me very much anymore on the social medias and stuff, unless a client specifically requests something.
Yeah.
But I do use those other mediums to play myself outside of my own creative practice and what I'm creating for my collections, myself, and for clients. I love to play.
Drink that water. Perfect. This is why we don't edit a podcast. It's all good. As our moms would put your hands up over your head, right? Yeah.
Swallowed air the wrong way.
Mm.
Okay, we're back.
Take a breath. Yeah. Um, So I know intention setting is really important to you. So let's talk a little bit about intention setting, right? So what is your process in that? And I know you also use it throughout the day. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I start any painting, whether it's for me or for client, I start by doing a little grounding meditation and grounding myself. And then I speak the intention out loud. And the intention can be really anything. And this is true even when I sit down to just creatively play and explore. And I would encourage others to do this as well. When you go to get into a creative project, set an intention. And it can be anything from, if you're doing it for yourself, for some self-care, like, oh, I just want to feel a little bit calmer right now. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Um, if you are going to create something that you're going to put out in the world for clients, it could be, I would love for my clients to experience this, or I would love for them to feel this through my writing. And I think it's also good too to set intentions with, you know, you can set intentions too throughout the day, like even if you're cooking, right? Like a lot of people feel that, I've used this analogy before, like we all know grandma's chicken soup tastes better, and it's because she has that extra ingredient of love.
Right.
And that's what we can sprinkle in throughout our day too, no matter what we're doing.
How would you, so going back to the creative process, so when I think about myself, and I really learned, um, I've been really paying attention to where I feel I'm more in the flow and not, right? So one of the things I love doing is facilitating workshops. One of the things I'm not a fan of is developing the workshop. It's actually somewhat painful for me. It can take forever for me to create something, and I want to get up and go get something to eat, and right now when I started creating the podcast, I could sit here for hours, scheduling when everybody was going to be on, like working in my spreadsheet and who was going to be what. So what tips or tricks would you give someone similar, right? Knowing now I'm aware, I'm like, oh, and it was interesting because simultaneously I was creating a workshop as I was launching the podcast. And I could see, I was like, wow, this 2-hour workshop has taken me about 6 weeks. And I launched the podcast in 2,
Yeah.
right? So, what tips or tricks would you suggest or offer for somebody who has that awareness? Like, and as a business owner, you said earlier, right, we're creative. That doesn't mean we like everything we have to do in our business, right? But we still have to do it. So how would you suggest doing, in those situations?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it again comes back to that intention, right? Like there are things I do in my business that, you know, doesn't necessarily bring me the most joy, right?
Right.
Like when I have to put all of the hanging hardware on all of my paintings, right? That's a task, right? But I try to tap into what the end result and end feeling is going to be, because like I know then once they're up and people are enjoying them in their home, like it's just a part of the process. So for me, it's partly tapping into the feeling of how do I want to feel when this is done? How do I want my people to feel, customers, clients, whatever? Um, how, you know, do I want this to be expressed? And then I also sort of think that the truth is we have things that obviously we love to do more than others, right? It's just part of the thing. And some things will flow a lot easier than others. And if I find that I am stuck and I'm not quite getting into that flow state that I'm used to being in, or I really desire to be in, there's a few things that I love to do. One is just acknowledging it. Acknowledge like, oof, you know what? This is just not really flowing right now. And it could be stopping, pausing, getting up, going out in nature, taking a walk. It could be doing a meditation. I have told people that who have gotten stuck before with writing, because my clients need to give me some writing in order for me to do my job
Yeah.
of doing card decks and journals for them. Stop if you feel that and use something else to help you tap into that creative flow. So
Mm.
that could be coloring in your coloring book. It could be going and cooking or baking, like whatever it is that you love to do that helps put you in that creative flow. It could be putting on your favorite song and having a dance party for a few minutes and like really getting the creative juices going, like getting it happening.
I've done that. I mean,
Yes.
that's easy for me. Yep.
And I do that too. And then
Yeah.
stepping back into what wasn't quite working or was feeling stuck and stagnant. And, honestly, different things are going to work better than others depending on what your favorite thing is, what you jam with, or even just today, the nature walk didn't work, but dance party did. So that's
Yeah.
why I like to have a few things in my toolbox. So I can kind of like experiment with like, oh, this is what I feel like I really need today to help me get back into that flow.
Now I know, you know, as an artist, artists are usually very inspired and work with flow, but it's also your job. I'm air quoting. I do that a lot for those not watching YouTube. I'm air quoting, right? So sometimes we don't always like our job, right? So how do your client has a deadline and
Mm.
you don't really feel inspired. How do you overcome that?
Yeah, so I'm actually a little unusual that I actually love a deadline.
Okay.
Actually make people give me a deadline. Because I think it forces me to stop overthinking and it's like,
Mhm.
nope, we just have to get it done. Um, but again, it's going back to those tools. And I think one of the biggest ahas and realizations that I had was if I don't like this, I can start again.
Mm.
Like it's okay. Like if this isn't working, I toss it in the garbage and I can start again. And I think that's true of a lot of things. And once I had that realization, it really freed me from getting so stuck in perfectionism that I was able to move through that and be able to work with deadlines and expectations and outcomes and things like that.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah.
Um, I also work well with deadlines, but it doesn't feel good. I'm the like, wait till it's due Friday. I'll do it Thursday. And then Thursday, I'm like, what did I do? I'm getting better at that. But when I was in a corporate environment, that was much more, I was like, oh, all these other things needed to get done. But that feels like it's 2 weeks away. And then 2 weeks is today, right?
Yeah.
So tell our listeners how you work with clients. I know that some of the things you do is you create cards and journals, and I want to talk about that, but how else do you work with your clients?
So, I also will do one-on-one sessions with people to help them tap into their creative flow,
Hmm.
as a form of self-care, as just something like they really want to like start tapping into that creative flow in a different way. People who get caught in that perfection paralysis tend to also want to hang out with me in a creative play session. Um, so those are the sorts of people that's another way that I work with people, like helping them to get into that flow state and really from a place of fun and joy. We're not necessarily going to be creating artwork that you're going to hang on your wall, right? They can literally sometimes be scribbles. And I have those too. They're for me, they're for pure expression and like moving through stuff, or if I'm feeling kind of stuck or like I notice I'm getting overthinky, I will go and just play with my crayons or just like any paints or whatever I have hanging around the office. And that's something that I teach people how to do as well.
I love that. I feel like I should bring my coloring book into my office. It's out by the TV. Sometimes I'll just color while we're watching TV. But I
Yeah.
want to go back to, sometimes you're not going to hang things on the wall.
Mhm.
And just a tip for people. We've done some paint nights, my husband and I, and we've done some feng shui around our house. And we took two of our paintings and put them behind our sofa on the floor because our living room is our creativity room. if in feng shui. So we put creativity in there. We didn't hang it on the walls, but it's our creativity is in that room, even though it's not being shown, right? So you can still use it for bringing that energy in. So talk to us about the card decks and the journals.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just share with people what you do with your clients for those.
Yeah, so I had been a lover of card decks for a really long time and also a journaler. And many, many years ago, I kind of got the hint in a meditation, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you had your own card deck? And I was like, all right. I was like, but I don't know how to do any of that. So we're just gonna,
We're
but
gonna
the
ignore
seed,
that.
we're gonna ignore that. But the seed was planted. And then a couple years later, a friend of mine said, hey, I have this idea. Do you want to illustrate it? So I said yes, I think before she even finished her sentence, because I was just like, yay, here's my opportunity. And what happened was we actually declined a publishing deal. And we had the ability to do that because I had the background that I had. And she was like, you can figure out all the back end stuff and the printing and all that stuff. And I said yes. So because of that, now I help other people do that as well. And I had always wanted to bring a journal to life too. So that came later on. And now that there's so much print on demand and everything, like we have the ability to do that. So I help clients bring those things to life too, to support their business and their clients. Again, it all goes back to intention, right? They're really fun tools to use, and they can be very, very transformative, right? When somebody's not having a great day and they just pull a card and they just, get a message that they needed to hear, or there's a journal prompt that's, helping them work through something. It's a really beautiful gift. And I work with people of all different kinds of businesses and stuff. And, again, it really is a co-creation. And I ask them to set intentions, and we really do collaborate on what their final product is going to be. Sometimes people come to me with a very crystal clear idea of what they want to do. And sometimes people come and it's more fuzzy. And through brainstorming and talking, we work out what it is that they want to create. And I think that because I am both a creator of them and a user of the tool, I look at it from that perspective as well. Like, what is going to serve the client well, like from a user perspective, and not just a creative perspective.
Doing it, right? Because you know what you want to see on the other end of it.
Yeah.
So I always pull cards at the end of our talk, but I asked Jen to pull some of hers. So why don't we do that right now? So
Okay.
you have 3. Did you already pull the cards, or
I did not pull the cards.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull one from each of my decks.
Perfect. I love that.
And then this first deck is paired with essential oils, but if you don't have essential oils, it's totally cool. Oh, I love this message. This message feels perfect for Francine too. It is a tangerine. My heart is joyful.
Oh, I love that. Ooh, pretty.
Yes.
Too.
So this is great. This has actually a deeper dive book in it as well. But I would ask yourself, like, where is your heart joyful? Like, what brings you the most joy? Like, can you tap into that today? Some of mine is tied to my creativity, is one of my highest forms of joy.
Well,
and
and
the
for
next,
me, I'm going to share, mine is connections and fun and enthusiasm. Hi, welcome to Effin' Fridays with Francine.
love it.
Right?
Love it. And the next one I'll share with you is from my other deck, a little pocket full of joy.
Joy.
And these are all messages around
I love
joy.
that we just pulled a joy card too.
I
I'm
know.
just gonna think there might be a theme here.
And there's 55 cards in that deck too. Oh, well, this is perfection. I share my joy with others.
I love that. I love it.
So you can ask yourself the question, like, where do you share your joy with others? How do you share your joy with others? Or you can just take this message in as well.
Nice. Beautiful. Thank you. I love that. Thank you. So what is something that you live by that you want to share with our listeners?
Oh, that's such a great question. I feel like lately it has been take a moment to enjoy the little things, like to
Mm,
really appreciate the little things in life. And especially when life throws you some curveballs and some lemons. I love when I could go in my yard and I see and appreciate just the sunshine sparkling off of the dew on the grass. I love just seeing my dog enjoy. I love painting. And those aren't really big explosive things, right? They're really just little small moments throughout the day that bring me joy. They bring me gratitude. They bring me into the present moment. And that's something I'm always looking to live by every single day.
I love that. I try to walk throughout the course of the day, and some days I listen to a meditation. Some are guided, some are just music. And it really, because sometimes I'm just like, all right, I got to get my walk in. And then when I slow down, I look at like the little lawn, moving, right? You pay attention to that, pay attention to just, looking around and just noticing it as opposed to just, I got to get shit done, right? I got to get
Mhm.
this walk done. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So where can our listeners find you if they want to order the cards from you? And I know you have an offer to the listeners as well.
Yes. So all my information can be found on my website, jencolombo.com, which I'm sure Francine's going to drop in the show
Yep, we'll
notes.
share that. Yep.
If you hang out on Instagram, that's mostly where I hang out, where I share a lot of my behind the scenes and I share tips and tricks and all of those things. And for those of you that are interested in tapping more into creative flow and like getting grounded in that practice, Francine has the link. You can sign up for my freebie, which are my tips and tricks along with a meditation. And if you choose, it's a little mini guided exploration, and you could use anything you have at home. You don't have to go out and get art supplies. You could use a pen or a pencil on your desk, if that's all you have handy. Anything works.
I love that. And I think I have one final question that just came when you just said that. What tips would you have for someone who's a perfectionist, right? Because I know there are people going, I can't use a pencil, right? So how do
Yes.
you, yeah.
Ugh, this is such a good question. This could be a whole topic, but I'll give you a couple quick short things. Go get kids art supplies. Like seriously, like just go get crayons because who cares? They're
Right.
crayons. Like have fun. And if you're really stuck in that perfection, one, remember, no one's going to see it. Like you can toss it in the garbage if you want, right? Like it doesn't matter. Put on your favorite piece of music and just go play. Don't worry about it. In fact, I encourage you, if you want, throw it out, rip it up, toss it up. And if you really are like stuck in that perfection, I would also challenge you. Some of you guys are going to cringe when I say this, but I promise you'll thank me later. Um, Create and draw with your eyes closed. Use your non-dominant hand. If you use your non-dominant hand, like you already know, like you're not going to be able to write something very well, right? So you can close your eyes, write with your non-dominant hand, move the paper around, grab colors if you're using crayons without looking at what you're choosing, and just try that on. It might be a little uncomfortable at first, but it's kind of a good way to start to loosen those reins of perfection.
I love that. I will sometimes have clients journal using their non-dominant, write the question with your dominant hand and answer it with your non-dominant hand.
Love that.
Yeah, I did a retreat earlier this year, and she had us do a self-portrait with our eyes closed. It was some interesting, yeah, there was some interesting. I used to, I don't have it. I did have it hanging on my wall. It's not here anymore. But all right. So thank you so much, Jen. This has been so much fun. I did pull 3 cards as well, because I do love to pull cards at the end of every podcast. So I have right, center, and left. And I'm going to let you pick first. So which one do you pick, Jen?
Oh, I'm going to pick center.
I knew you were. I was already on it. I was like, okay. So this and that are true. Open-mindedness, perspective, nuance, and complexity. And I would imagine that is a lot, that says a lot about art too, right?
Yes.
I love that. I don't look at the cards. I choose the deck usually intuitively, and I don't look at the cards, and they always have some thread of the conversation. So the left card is just the art of allowing resilience and adaptability. Surrender to the change.
This is why I love cards.
Right? Because you
You
just can't make this shit up.
Yeah, can't make it up. The cards never lie.
And the right is mystery, uncharted territory, deep knowing, the eyes of mystery. So allow yourself to go into that uncharted territory and draw something. I love it. I love it. So thank you, Jen, so much for being here today. And thank you for listening and joining me on today's journey towards a more enlightened and fulfilling life. I hope today's episode has inspired you to embrace your inner wisdom and navigate your path with a renewed sense of purpose. Remember, transformation begins from within. Take a moment each day to connect with your higher self and trust that the universe is guiding you towards your highest and best good. If you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with those who might benefit from our message. Your support helps us reach more souls on their spiritual journey. Stay connected with our community on social media. All the links will be in the show notes. Visit my website at Forever Change Coaching for more additional resources, upcoming events, and more ways to be inspired. You can also receive a free resource on my website and check out, if you're ready for your big ass up level, you'll get some journal prompts. And until next time, continue to shine your light and walk in peace and love. I'm Francine Tirrell, and this has been Effin' Fridays with Francine. Jen, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.